Pushpa Bector, I would like to start this conversation by congratulating you on completing 20 years at DLF.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Charu. Yeah, it's been 20, but I don't know how it passed because I was like super busy creating these products. And the way I like to put it, I somehow got into a mission of wanting to change the landscape of how we plan our days and spend our weekends, you know. So I do believe that we all are in the business of improving quality of life.
So if given a chance to serve 20 more years to the same organization, are you ready for that challenge?
Well, why not? See, the reason why 20 years doesn't seem daunting is because every 4 years, I have reinvented myself. I do have a certain fatigue, mental fatigue in doing the same thing. So I think the trick is to reinvent yourself, demolish what you've done already, and create something new. So if the company provides those opportunities, why not? I like to work as long as I can.
So what do you love about your organization?
I think the organization's chairman is a visionary in the true sense of the word. He doesn't like to create a benchmark and sit on his laurels. He's always breaking that and creating something new. So when I hear that and when I see the drive, you know, and drive always comes in from promoter down, and it's really good that you're getting an opportunity to be an entrepreneur in your own way without investing and yet creating scale. So I think we are fortunate in that way.
3 qualities that you have developed during these 20 years working with DLF.
The first quality would be innovative thinking. You know, I think that's something that was inherent in me, but it truly got polished. And thinking large. Do not think anything small, but thinking large, creating benchmarks. And one quality that I believe I've inculcated is making sure that women get their share of voice within DLF.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
How many women over here get the chance to get that voice in their organizations? I would request all those women to raise their hands, please.
That's
it's a pleasure
great
to see.
That's great. So I think share of voice is a very important topic. You know, we all like to say that, oh, there is a boardroom seat available. It's mandatory for a woman. But really, what is important to understand is what's the share of voice? What's the impact? And what's the true power the person holds to be able to create that impact. And that comes through share of voice, to be able to state an opinion clearly and to be able to convince that yes, something which is large is feasible, something that looks impossible can be possible. For that you need confidence and perseverance.
And sleepless nights?
Sleepless nights, you know, I think that's overrated. In anything that we do, we should always, when I talk to founders, you know, and I always do, I always say that they work with a passion of wanting to create the unicorn. But they also know that, and the good ones, they also know that if something goes wrong, they have the strength to do it all over again. So I think sleeplessness or stress should be there for work, but not for fear of failing, because then you are operating out of insecurity and you wouldn't do well.
So I will get to the main questions also, Pushpa, but just trying to understand your journey in a better way from a different lens. So when we talk about 20 years, right? What was keeping you awake at that point of time? What is keeping you awake at this point of time?
So when we started, right, initially, malls as a concept was new. It was very, very new. There were just few in Delhi. So for us, it was really to create a consumer base which understood how to get into malls as part of their daily fabric, right? But that is now vanilla fare. Now, what's really important is how do you create spaces to engage them again, because the choices are so many. The way they look at transactions are very, very different. And also, we have a very evolved consumer base. So what keeps me awake is that the consumer is evolving at a more rapid pace than I think developers are. So definitely, we need to be one step ahead. Retailers, when you hear them now, they are so much ahead to what they were earlier, right? They would be transactional in their approach. Today, their approach is far more futuristic. They're able to take bolder decisions, formats they're able to do, which is experiential, larger in nature. They know that they're not going to make money in the immediate future, but they know that that's the route that they want to take. So what's really changed is the confidence in every entrepreneur has changed drastically. The confidence in being an Indian and having confidence of other Indians evolving, that's changed drastically. And also, I dare say that even the government, the way they have supported whatever has to be done, be it in retail or economy at large, has changed matters. And so there are those many new brands. Earlier, we used to just have 100 to 150 brands. When I started out, probably it was 50 brands, right? Then we in DLF, we are proud to say that we curated unique brands of over 800. Now today, we are taking that to over to 1,200 brands, unique. And that's because there are those many new entrepreneurs that are coming into fray with really cool products.
Which category was the star category and which category is the star category now? And emerging categories also, if you have to touch upon.
So when we started out, it was all about just doing cinema, some brands in the ground floor. Second floor used to die out, it was the worst floor. We changed all that. We created second floor to be the most powerful floor by creating high street brands to come into the second floor. We zoned our malls. What's changed is we introduced the concept of zoning, we introduced the concept of sub-zoning, and introduced planned shopping. So with that, the way the consumer arrived at the mall changed very, very drastically. Today, when all the developers are doing the same thing, it gives us a sense of pride. Yes, we pioneered something that's now become a way of life. What's really also changing is that as we go forward, now there's another disruption of AI. Is that going to be disruptive? Is it going to be inclusive? And how will it improve efficiencies within retail? We've seen in between that, it's all going to go online and brick and mortar is going to fail. Then, we all say that COVID is something that when it happened and when they said, oh, malls are going to die, I've had tons of interviews and I would always tell them that people, human beings, especially Indians, we like to shop, not singularly, but in communities. Our strength is in communities, our strength is in families, and that family taking a decision. And so it's always going to be brick and mortar, which will research back. Today, when I talk to brands, they all say that online is around 20% to 22% of their overall portfolio. D2C brands are coming back into the offline space. Why is that happening? Because they know that without experiences, their net value is not going to go up. And unless you have that customer connect, you're not going to be able to create that sort of experience for the customer, which will make trust to that brand as part of their fabric. It wouldn't be transactional anymore. So I do believe that what's changed is categories like D2C brands have come in, brands like the cinemas have shrunk but have become more experiential. Food and beverage, when we started out, was as low as 8%. Today we are talking 20%, 22%, and they are really high quality F&B, not just F&B for the sake of it. There's subcategorization of the same. Today there is regional cuisines that do so well, and the pride in the country is percolated not through just one genre, but it's percolated through all the genres in what we wear, what we eat, and how we live. So that we embrace international brands as much as we include national brands and Indian brands in our fabric.
Which are the new brands that you're planning to get to your malls going ahead?
Oh, there are, as
Can
you
we
know.
have some sneak peeks, please?
See, most of the times I'm boring at this because we signed strict NDAs. Till the Apple store had opened, we couldn't announce that Apple's opening in Mall of India. And that's the tricky part of our lives. But I can tell you this, that as we speak, there are at least 10 new, very exciting brands that are entering our portfolio in this year. And they're all new and very exciting, and it'll shake the market.
That's wonderful. I'm all ears to it and would plan the story on it soon so that all the audience can get to know about it.
Absolutely.
So Pushpa, coming back to the questionnaire, which I actually prepared, I went with the flow, knowing about your journey and how you have completed almost 20 years at DLF. So how do you move from building shopping malls to creating long-lasting consumer and cultural institutions that shape city lifestyles?
So, you know, the way we as cityites, the way we are sort of living our life has changed so much over the years, right? Earlier, we wouldn't think much of going, so if you are in Mumbai, a person would travel down. Today, the traffic and the urban situation has become so intense that people are looking at very, very good, higher quality spaces in an ecosystem of around 20 minutes, right? So the way you operate now is that we are creating either destinational malls in the mixed-use space, and mixed-use space, for example, the Mall of India, Gurgaon, is going to be part of a 13 million ecosystem. It's a city within a city. So here we are creating mini cities, and we are housing a mall within. So our whole thought process changes drastically. The second thing that we are doing is that we have now the confidence of creating newer cities, going into future spaces where we know that the consumer is going to shift there because corporates are shifting there. So in DLF, we have all the three verticals. So we know that we can create office opportunities or work opportunities. Hence, there'll be residential opportunities and retail opportunities. So we are, you know, if I look at further down, there are certain other areas that we are now planning, which will be creating all three ecosystems within a space of 8-9 years. So our horizon of how we are looking at projects is no longer what do we do in the next 3 years. That, of course, is there. But we are also looking at what can we do over the next 10 years and how is the city progressing. And with the city progressing, where is it that we'll go?
So you're not only taking the retail to another level, you're also taking the cities and various, and the lifestyle of consumers to another level.
Exactly. It's urban development and planned urban development, which we believe as DLF we should really be doing because that's what we bring to the table. If you look at Gurgaon or you look at New Gurgaon, that's what we would do.
So in the past decade, we have seen that from being transaction-driven centers, malls have become experience centers to cultural centers now. Can you explain this journey, why this happened, and can you please also tell me what next is going to happen? Because I'm very curious about the future now.
So what we realized when we had smaller pockets of malls like Promenade or Avenue, so they had some open spaces, but we are really not using them. The footfall will dwindle post a certain time. People would go away to bars. We also realized that cinema was losing that real edge. People would go for late night shows and yet sustain properties. So what we took on is, this is our program 4 years back, we took on to looking at programming cultural events within our projects. And when we started it out, no one had done it till then. People used to go far away for having concerts and having some live comedy shows. So we introduced a lot of cultural events as a matter of detail in our marketing calendars, and which attracted millennials. Otherwise, millennials were running away from malls, going more online, frankly. This brought about the change of getting in consumers right back to the project, to our properties, which is really more understanding how do I feel cool, what's the latest concert that's happening, or what is the latest stand-up comedy that's going on, and all various other cultural events. That brought about richness in our spaces. And that has done really, really well, especially after COVID. But now we need to really go out 2 steps. So you will see that we will be creating, apart from the cinemas, we will be creating certain cultural centers, which will be planned cultural centers. Because now it makes monetary sense to do so. And we also think that we should be, we have the responsibility to create that, and we have the span. We have, for example, in Gurgaon, we have the entire cyber city. We, on a daily basis, today, get 200,000 people coming to our spaces, be it offices or be it retail, every day. So what are we doing with those 200,000 people? Can they just shop, or can they also do, have certain other cultural activities going on there? So that's the next range of thoughts, which I can't fully disclose, but really that is how we are thinking about it. We looked at conferences, but we feel that conferences as a business is a smaller business. So we may not go in that direction, but definitely I think the more cultural inclusion is there, the better. And that's really what people are looking for, which is also experiential in nature.
So like you touched upon, while you shifted to the cultural aspect of the, bringing the cultural aspect to the malls, you brought back the millennial consumers also. So when you talk about Gen Z and millennials, how do they interact differently with malls?
Very interesting. So, millennials seek culture, seek entertainment, seek live entertainment. Gen Zs, the way they are shopping, the more we look at it, they are looking for authenticity. They are only shopping, they are not brand crazy. They are authenticity and story narrative crazy. They want that. They look for truth. One of the brands that really caught my eye is the Whole Truth. See that it's not in a mall space yet, but the Whole Truth as a brand gives you a certain sneak peek of how Gen Zs are. Now they actually read labels, and they think that the labels have to speak, because they are very concerned about what goes into their system, what do they wear, and it should be sustainable. Sustainability is no longer a mantra or something that you do in order to get carbon credits. For Gen Zs, sustainability for many of them will be a way of life. And for Gen Alpha, it will be more so. So it makes absolute sense for brands to look at that. Hence, their authenticity will be far more, shall I say, prudent. And also, it will, with authenticity will come trust, not just with a label.
Pushpa, as you can gauge in the future and see what is Gen Alpha are going to expect. So I'm very sure you must be designing your large destinations which are coming up in the future, keeping this in mind, or there are certain other aspects which we are touching upon and which we might not be aware of because we are not gauging that market the way closely you are gauging it. Can you please help us understand that as well?
So, I mean, as I said, we are getting into mixed-use developments in a big way, and the mixed-use development requires thinking on what does this customer do for his free time of 1 hour? So time is the biggest luxury, which we need to ensure that the customer is spending that luxurious space in the right way. So are they contributing to themselves? Because they're all the time very, very clearly seeking to enhance their individual brand value. So for us, our thought is always, how do we create very, very planned urban spaces where they're getting maximum out of minimal time?
So as we're creating the spaces for future, so fashion, food, culture, entertainment, maybe some other categories which I've not talked about yet. So how do you blend all of them seamlessly, and do you think they are going to blend as seamlessly as they are blending right now? Or will there be any changes going ahead?
they, see, it will blend. But the way we are looking at it, we don't think that just one movie should skew the whole narrative. The way we are looking at it, OTT has taken away quite a bit of that cinema entertainment. So we are shrinking our cinema spaces. We, however, are making cinemas hopefully more multi-use than what we have done so far. So that's something that we will plan to do. The second thing that we believe is, as much as you plan the urban space, we have to make sure that food and beverage is there and available in all corners. It need not be on, the zone will be there, but also food and beverage can be spread out in all corners. As much as we are looking at creating multiple atriums in the newer spaces, we're not going to have just a single atrium like we used to. Goa has got 2 atriums, and it's a small project, 7 lakh square feet. Why we are doing that is because we believe that we have to do different activities in different zones in order to attract people. No longer is just a car display going to be the answer. So the thinking of how we are developing projects, how we are planning them, and hence how we are designing them is changing a lot. The traffic circulation to me is the biggest thing. If the traffic circulation is good, then the customer comes back. If that experience is bad, the customer is not going to come back. The other aspect that I'll say is that is the property as attractive in the daytime as it is in the evenings? Of late, I do see that customers tend to go away into open spaces, maybe high street bars for their evenings. How can malls design spaces in such a way that even their evening activities can be equally fruitful within a mall? Can we create more open spaces for our F&B partners? So those are the kind of things. So I think designing by understanding the future, and may I add, infusing technology at every space, at every level, so that we are not only future ready, but we are also sort of creating spaces which are, let's say they have ability to get AI enabled or integrated with the right kind of digitization, with the right kind of software that's to be required to add as we go along, because malls are like 50-year proposals. So we need to create more smart malls. So I think that's the difference. And last but not the least, we are creating projects which are LEED Gold, LEED Platinum from the word go. Sustainability is not just lip service for us. We are the world leaders in most of our sustainable projects. We want to look at a carbon neutral ecosystem within DLF, and we have a timeline target for it, and we are working very actively towards that timeline. So it's really sustainability as well as customer integration and creating the right curation, all three.
So Pushpa, I can vouch for the thing that you said, traffic management. I've seen with my own eyes. I mean, your Mall of India, when it was started, 8 years back, it started, I guess. My office is just across the lane. And I used to see the traffic arrangements that you guys used to do initially and how smooth it has become for people like us bringing our cars. There's no rush on Sundays, weekends. If we get the parking easily, there's no traffic, there are no queues. And you've managed it really well, and it becomes a very smooth ride. It's not a task for us to go to a mall and manage things going ahead.
Yes, of course, I think retail malls is the most operationally intensive business. So we have, in fact, many of our operations heads are here. The way we run our projects is each of the operational head, we call them cluster heads and head of operations, it's highly decentralized and they have the decision-making powers to really run their project. We have large frameworks of making sure that it's safe, but they take the initiative. It's how much initiative you take at the ground level that makes the difference, not because someone's sitting in the corporate office and saying, hey, this needs to be done. So it's people-led, so decentralize it to ensure that it is very seamless, and we are always innovating. In Mall of India, we collaborated with the government for the MLCP, and the next level in Mall of India you will see is probably, hopefully, creating a footover bridge from MLCP directly into the mall. So constant investments to make sure that the customer is more at ease.
That is wonderful. So, Pushpa, one thing I have observed from a tenant and a landlord relationship between the malls and everything, the malls and the brands, I've seen that malls and brands have come strategic growth partners now. How do you see their relationship strengthening going ahead?
In fact, earlier people, even the retailers, their thought process is the developer is someone whom they need to sort of have an argument with. They realize now that it's collaboration that will work. Today, it's music to my ears when brands come and tell us that, we have this marketing budget, we want to collaborate with you annually to see how we can make this larger. That happens because the trust on how we spend the money has increased. The trust on how effective we are has increased. So it's far more collaborative. We understand their pain point and vice versa. I think trust has improved drastically. Second is that the reason for a common goal and a common purpose and understanding that that's the common vision that we have has improved that element of trust. And last but not the least, when they're seeing that their revenues are increasing year on year, and they're seeing that the mall is also doing their bit to ensure that their revenues are increasing, they know that they are in good hands. So I think the idea is that if they are in good hands, then they collaborate more.
So my last question, any advice that you would love to give to the next gen retail leaders, because you have so much experience, you talked so much, and the audience was so captive and listening to you so carefully. Any advice you would love to give the future leaders?
The one thing about retail, the one thing that's constant is change. So to me, we are in retail, we are always on a treadmill. We have to keep innovating, changing, and really looking at the future on how customers are evolving. We cannot really be in the status quo and think that we've achieved something great, because we're just in the nascent stage of retail. If you see how China boomed, we are just getting started. There's miles to go before we sleep. So all I can say is that the opportunities are immense. At a certain level, me and some of my senior colleagues say that we want to wind back the clock by 20 years to see how much more we can, yet go. There's so much to be done now because the customer, it's in a space where all engines are firing. We are at a great level as a nation. The customers are more evolved, and the developers have also become more evolved. So there's so much more to be done.
Thank you so much, Pushpa. I turned this fireside chat into a masterclass, and you answered every question so beautifully. And I would like to thank the audience also for being so patient and listening to each and every word so patiently and interestingly. Thank you so much.